Good evening and Happy New Year, folks. This is the official inaugurating edition of The Other Side of Ropes for 2012. And let's just see. Um, if you have to ask, you'll never know, but I'll say it anyway. I'm your humble host, or maybe not so humble, depending on how you look at it. I'm Red, aka Shaka, sub moniker Black Magic. And for those of you who don't know or the uninitiated just getting in here, this is the online column. Well, also you're going to see it because you're not going to get it in a magazine. But anyway, this is the video column, which covers independent wrestling from a wrestler's point of view. And some of you might be wondering, what do you think? Come on. I'm what you might call one of those unsung heroes, but we'll get into that part. Right now, let's see. It's pretty early because I'm off tonight, which means it's a work night. But it's about 10:30, which means most of the indie community and fans around the world are tuned into Raw. And big shouts to the 215, 212 Empire, respectively. I'm talking about Ron Starr and Tom Brewington, a.k.a. Xavier Fate. Sorry, kid. Who are currently down in where they're taping Raw tonight. I'm not supposed to say this, but they already said it a couple hours ago. They're down in Memphis. But I think everybody's kind of like going off about what the big surprise is going to be. Now, I don't watch it. I don't have cable, and I'm usually not home to watch it even if I did. But that doesn't mean I'm under a rock. I know everybody's got this big thing as to what's going on. And most people, some people that know me, they'll accuse me of being, well, okay, if you want to call it anti-E, let's straighten this out. I don't have a problem with entertainment, but here's the thing. Just because the second W in a logo happens to say wrestling doesn't necessarily mean it has wrestling in it. Now, at the same time, I know some people are probably bored stiff if they actually turn around and watch a scrimmage and say high school. But that's what most people think, unfortunately, when they think of the like amateur wrestling and so forth. You got Greco-Roman. Where do you think all those sick throws come from? That don't move you? I've seen some pretty sick stuff in a Sambo match. And depending on what form you're talking about, if it's combat, you're going to see the same thing you might see in MMA. You're going to see some stand-up. You're going to see some grappling, a whole bunch of crazy stuff in between. You might not see ground and pound, but they do get banged up. I kid you not. It's a whole different culture. But let me see. It's been a pretty good year for me. Got a lot of things set off. Got a few things accomplished. Got to get certified as a strength and conditioning coach for mixed martial arts. People ask me if I'm going to fight again. Trust me, if I do, I'm not going to say never, but if I do, you'll know about it. Everything else has been wrestling. But I use the training tactics of one to sharpen the other. Because the one thing that was brought to my attention up to and after the fight that I had about 2 years ago was that fight could have been won even in the first round by me. Had it not been for several factors. Because one of the things you're supposed to do when you train, even to fight, is supposed to drill your techniques. The main reason why is you have to get rid of a lot of bad habits. And unfortunately, that was what I believe one of the things that cost me that fight. Because I'll back up. I would say not even the first half, that first, 30 seconds of that fight, we wound up on the ground. My man shot in on me after I threw a kick. I stuffed the shoot in, but he still came back up and got a takedown. He scored the one takedown in the fight. Went to the ground, I went for a leg lock. Now, technically speaking, had I thought fast enough, I already knew how to stuff I knew how to stuff the thing, but I didn't stay on the sprawl. Oops. A lot of stuff I could have done from there. But since it's something I didn't really train on too much, bad habit, mistake number one. Boom. He still scored the takedown on me. Just wasn't double or single leg. I got on the ground, got a leg lock. Well, I got leg control, didn't get the leg lock. Obviously, if I did, he would have tapped. Once again, bad habits. I can get the leg control, couldn't get the submission. Once again, this is the purpose of drilling. This is one of the things I try to stress myself on doing when I train myself, or if I have to sit up there and be responsible for someone else. And I see this a lot even in the indies. We train for the wrong reasons, and there's a lot of bad habits. The other thing, nutrition. I get a lot of flack, and believe it or not, even for what I do for the thing for MMA and all that, I get a lot of flack from my own peers. For the last year, I got a lot of flack because they're thinking, well, MMA, this MMA. I'm like, dude, listen, if you did your history, you realize before MMA got big over here, what influenced it is the thing that we're doing now, which is becoming more of a performance art. Now, I really don't appreciate being compared to, say, Kaiju Big Battle or the Blue Man Group. That's performance art. We're not supposed to be performance art, guys. We're supposed to be athletes. We're supposed to be one of the sports that don't have a season. You have training camps, fight camps, and all that. Boxing has a fight camp. Wrestlers in the amateur and the scholastic level and the Olympic level have training camps. Any other kind of grapplers have training camps. I don't care who it is. Sambo players, jiu-jitsu players. It goes on and on. I mean, you got these guys training for the Mundials. You got them training for the Nagas, the Grappler's Quest. You got them training for the Abu Dhabis. They have camps for this stuff. Grappling is the same thing. It's another term for the blanket term that we call wrestling, and we have taken it for granted. Big time. Now, I don't have a problem with entertainment. I don't have a problem with an entertaining fight. Okay? Styles make a match. If you got all the guys turning around pretty much doing the same thing, it gets dull and listless. We've gotten complacent. Face it. We're sitting up here going, we all drink the collective mainstream Kool-Aid that's called the WWE and TNA to get our fix because that's what brought us to the game, that got us into this whole thing. But we're still waiting for a miracle to happen for these guys. We don't have to wait for them. We have minds of our own. We're adults. Most of us are. You know, we're all adults. Let's face it here. I mean, we have to sit up there and keep tearing something else down, but we don't quite understand because we ain't delve into it. This is the stuff I actually get flack for, believe it or not. I've actually gotten flack for, well, don't bring the MMA in here. I'm like, y'all, nobody said anything about Ken Shamrock, but think about it. Brock Lesnar over just before the weekend lost his fight to Overeem, and I say it like this. If you know that wrestling is your strength, play to your strength. His mistake was he went up against a guy, and they both fought in K1, but he went up against a guy who totally outmans and outguns him in stand-up. If anybody's seen over, most people like, I never heard of Overeem. I have. And that man's a beast when it comes to stand-up. Now, they're talking about he come back to WrestleMania, whatever. Now, what if you're wrong? We got a couple months to find out if it's true or not. You know what I mean? But we have guys that turn around and retired from out of MMA and went out gracefully. And everybody's trying to make it seem like he's a hoax. I mean, hey, he lasted this long. And it wasn't like that Dana White yanked him straight out of the clutches of Vince McMahon before he got in the cage. He was actually in a ring in Japan when it happened. He was fighting for K1, and if he wasn't there, he was over in New Japan having a nice little thing going on back and forth with Kurt Angle for the IWGP title. How did that happen? Because the people on loan, the people that fight for K1 are usually on loan to go to New Japan. That's how that works. You just got to know the culture. You know, that means our culture's gotten lazy. We're becoming complacent because we're still trying to do certain things that we're still stuck in for the last 10 to 15 years, but we're not getting any better. I mean, I'm seeing stuff in the MMA cage that hasn't been seen in 5 years, and you're like, holy crap. I've seen people getting tapped out to twisters. I'm seeing broken arms due to doggone Kimuras. We saw what? Inverted triangles, you don't see stuff like this over in mainstream over here. Might happen in Japan more often than not. I mean, let's face it. The first few go-go plotters that came about, Japan. You know, I believe it was Nick Diaz did one, and before and after his was Shinya Aoki. I mean, I found this out looking in magazines and found it online. If I can look it up, you can look it up. Hey, There it is. I got no reason to hide nothing on that one. I mean, Gogoplata, you seen it in WWE. People thought it was a triangle. What am I talking about? Anybody remember the Gates of Hell? That was Undertaker's submission. That ain't a triangle, folks. If it was over his head, it was a stomping curl, then it'd have been a triangle. But no, it's under your chin and he's holding your head. That's a Gogoplata. There is a difference. They're both chokes, but there is a difference. But yes, for anybody that was wondering, Undertaker was doing rubber guard. Look up Eddie Bravo and you'll get the answer to that question if you're going to ask me. I'm just saying. And even the people in MMA couldn't get it straight. Because Frank Trigg tried to do commentary on it, couldn't name it. Bas Rutten couldn't even name it. But then again, Bas Rutten's more of a striker. But there you go. But there's that big misconception. People don't think that wrestling is a martial art. Guys, even Bruce Lee broke this down. There are 4 ranges in close quarter combat. The farthest being kicking. The 2 in the middle are punching and trapping. If you don't know what trapping is, look up Wing Chun Kung Fu. Parries are basically trapping without trapping as the opening part. The last one, grappling. Where your takedowns and stuff come from, because you're too close to do the other 3. You're right there up close and personal. So what else are you going to do? Take the guy off his feet. The guy who controls the center controls the game. That's the object of grappling / wrestling. People miss that part. Can you have an entertaining grappling match or a wrestling match? Sure. If you know where to look. But you know what? I'm going to cover this part later on. Oh, also get a little bit of flack about my dietary things. Guys, once again, we're athletes. We're not supposed to be subjected to the everyday common man type of thing if we're going to keep doing this for conditioning. You know what I'm saying? If you know you got to fight, pizza's out your diet. If you know you got weight class and you got to make weight, pizza, junk food, soda, sugar's out your diet. You're going to have carbs, rice and corn. Grain, minimize it if you can. Oatmeal's not too bad, but minimize it. Other than that, if it's come wrapped up in a label, now you know what I'm talking about. If it says Twinkie, don't touch it. Okay, if it comes with a barcode and it's plastic wrap, don't touch it. A can, perhaps, but even then, you got to be careful. Depends on what it is you're looking at. Now, if it's a can of tuna, you're fine. Just make sure it's packed in water and not oil, and you're good to go. Perfect for cutting weight. Now, I'm going to cut this short, and I'll get back to that other part later on and probably save it for the next column, which means it may either be the middle of this week, might be next week. Who knows? But on that note, this has been another episode of The Other Side of Ropes. This has been Red, and this has been real. I'm out, people. Peace.